This is Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon. Mitch Lafon.
Welcome to this episode of Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon on this Mitch Marathon Month. Today, I bring you Conny Bloom of the band Electric Boys. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, they put out three terrific albums. Funk-O Metal Carpet Ride, Groovis Maximus in 1992, and 1994's Freewheeling, and then they were gone. Just off the face of the earth. But they came back in 2011 with And Them Boys Done Swang and 2014's Starflight United. If you haven't heard Starflight United, you absolutely should. It was on my 2014 best of albums for that year. Just absolutely delightful. And they are back in 2018-19 with the Ghost Ward Diaries. So while you are checking out Starflight United on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you get your music, do check out the new album, The Ghost Ward Diaries. But before getting over to my interview with Conny, I did on the Jeff Scott Soto episode ask folks like you to consider sending in a new theme song for the show. And I got a few submissions at mitchminute@aol.com. People sent them over. Now, I have to say, there were a couple of issues with some of them, just that I was asking for a Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon theme song, and it was either random songs that had nothing to do with the show, or it was just sort of bed music, just underlying mood music. So let's keep doing. If you want to send stuff in, please do so at mitchminute@aol.com, mitchminute@aol.com, I should say. But let's go with something that has to do, like a Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon jingle kind of thing. Now, I am going to play one for you right now from the band BLITZ out of the UK. They put together a 10-second Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon theme song. And, head over to the Twitter at Mitch Lafon and tell me if you liked it or not, and if I should continue using it. But you can also check out the band at blitzukbandcamp.com, blitzuk.bandcamp.com. And here's some fun trivia. Back in the wonderful 80s, I had a German Shepherd called Blitz. So here from the UK is Blitz with the premiere presentation of a Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon jingle. Be right back.
Is rock and roll dead show? Hell no! Rock Talk on the Mitch Lafon Show!
And there you have it from Blitz out of the UK, a Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon jingle submission. If you like that, head over to @MitchLafon on Twitter and let me know if I should continue using that or not. But thank you, boys, for sending that in. And before I get over to Conny Bloom of Electric Boys, speaking of Twitter, @MitchLafon, I recently put up on the Twitter, if you were a young fan growing up today, 14, 15, whatever, would you prefer a world of 1980s MTV or YouTube? And I meant in the sense of music accessibility, music discoverability, etc. And a lot of people seem to side with YouTube, and I get that. Totally get YouTube. It is absolutely fantastic. But looking back, in my experience with MTV when I was traveling in the States, or Much Music up here in Canada, if it wasn't for that sort of randomness of video showing up, there are a lot of bands that I just wouldn't have discovered. Now, I liked harder rock, so would I have still sought out bands like Metallica and Megadeth and Bon Jovi and Def Leppard and Quiet Riot? Maybe. But chances are no, because I remember specifically seeing You Give Love a Bad Name for the first time and going, aha, I like that. I remember seeing Talk Dirty to Me from Poison for the first time and going, aha, I like that. I remember seeing Round and Round by Rat and going, aha, I like that. And I became fans of those bands. Now, had I been left to my own devices with YouTube, I don't think I would have discovered those bands. What would have compelled me to type in RATT in the search? I mean, absolutely nothing. So I probably would not be a Rat fan today. I probably would not be a Poison fan today, or a Bon Jovi fan, or a Metallica fan, or a Megadeth fan, or, I grew up on Kiss and Cheap Trick and Aerosmith, and I probably would have remained a fan of those bands, but when you look on Much Music and they play Dude Looks Like a Lady, you go, oh, Aerosmith has a new album. I'm not sure that would have happened had it not been for MTV and Much Music. Now, yes, now on YouTube I can dial it up like a pizza whenever I want, but how would I have known to go to YouTube now and look up Aerosmith to see if there's a new album or not, So I think for me, it's a combination of both. You needed the Much Music and the MTV to give you that randomness and go, because listen, there's also a whole bunch of other stuff on there, whether it's Cyndi Lauper or Huey Lewis or a Bruce Springsteen song, and all these great singles from the 80s that I'd be completely oblivious to. And there are currently, I'm assuming, some great singles on YouTube that I have no idea about because I don't know to look for them or how to look for them. You don't just randomly type in a word like Aerosmith. Now, I don't know what some of the new bands are called, but like just take, for example, today. We are talking to Conny Bloom of Electric Boys. And if you're in Europe and if you're in Sweden, you may have heard of Electric Boys. You may have heard of All Lips and Hips, their great single from 1990, which, by the way, number 76 on Billboard's Hot 100 and number 16 on Billboard's mainstream rock charts back in the day. But would you know that they have a new album called the Ghost Ward Diaries? Would you know to look for a new video by them? Would you know to look for them? And just as an aside, I'm going to say, if you start looking for Electric Boys on YouTube, go look up their 1992 ABBA cover of King Kong Song. There was a Swedish ABBA tribute album called ABBA the Tribute back in the day, and Electric Boys did a cover of King Kong Song. It's absolutely, and I know it's not a rock word, but it's delightful, absolutely delightful. Anyway. So let's just continue that discussion about YouTube and MTV. And I think as a emerging rock fan, in your early teens, 13, 14, 15, it really requires someone or something to make suggestions to you. So sort of some random suggestions for you to check out. And I don't think that exists on YouTube. So yes, you can dial it up. But you dial it up based on a knowledge, right? You have a knowledge base. You go, I want to watch Kiss. I want to watch Cheap Trick. I want to watch the Electric Boys. I want to watch Poison. But that knowledge base came from somewhere. It came from somebody or something putting it in your head. Now, yes, back in those days, other than MTV, we had radio and stuff. Now, mind you, Montreal radio, where I'm from, useless. I mean, we have a station, a rock station here, bullshit, called Showm FM. Back in 1980s, useless. You wanted to hear Rat, Motley Crue, Bon Jovi, they didn't play it. They fucking played the Doobie Brothers and Styx. Forget it. And if you were in Chicago or in Detroit or in Boston or in LA, some of the cities that I would visit back in the day, yeah, you could turn on a rock radio station and hear the latest Bon Jovi. You could hear a Metallica song. You could hear, Great White. But honestly, if it wasn't for MTV and Much Music playing the videos, a lot of that stuff wouldn't have become part of our knowledge base, part of what we know and part of what we know to look up on YouTube. So I don't know. I think ultimately YouTube is great. But if you didn't have MTV, YouTube, it would be hard to navigate to find new music. You would essentially be going to YouTube, looking up what you already know. So anyway, that discussion was over on my Twitter, @Mitch Lafon, and I do encourage you to follow me there. currently sitting at almost 13,000 followers, but by the end of 2019, I would love to be at 20,000 followers. So please head over to @MitchLafon. If you haven't followed it. And if you are following it, tell a couple of friends to follow it. And, hopefully I can get over to 20,000. It helps. It's funny how it helps, because the more followers you have, the more Twitter impressions you have, the more Facebook the more bands and publicists give you exclusive interviews. Now, listen, I'm doing well with the people that I've been interviewing, and if you've been following Mitch Marathon Madness, you've heard interviews with Megadeth's Dave Ellefson and Bob Clearmountain, the producer, Jeff Scott Soto, Ted Nugent, this one today with Connie Bloom. So I'm doing fine with interviews, but if you get to that next level where you're an influencer or you're a media magnet, or people look and go, wow, you've got 100,000 followers, well, then it becomes easier to get somebody like a John Bon Jovi or a Steven Tyler or a Slash, or it becomes a lot easier. So if we can get the numbers up, everybody benefits, right? My shameless plug for myself. Anyway, well, listen, while I'm shamelessly plugging myself, do head over to loudtrax, trax.com/Mitch, and pick up one of the Mitch Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon tees. In fact, pick up 2 or 3. And I have a classic black T-shirt with the logo, and then I have the baseball jersey, the raglan, the longer sleeves, but on a black sort of body. And I'm thinking, it'd be really cool, a nice white T-shirt with the logo. So again, head over to @MitchLafon. Tell me if you think a white T-shirt with a logo would be cool. But for now, let us continue Mitch Marathon Month Madness with Conny Bloom of Electric Boys' new album, The Ghost Ward Diaries, out now. Do check that out. And Conny, take it away. We are speaking with the Electric Boys' Conny Bloom. The latest album is The Ghost Ward Diaries. And if you haven't heard that, do so. But also, I'm going to add, as a bonus, gratuitous, if you haven't heard 2014's Starflight United, my lord, you are 5 years behind the times, because that album and the Ghost Ward Diaries, brilliant, and you need to check out both. How's that for an introduction, Conny?
That sounds very good, man. Thanks for that.
Yes. So, okay.
Yeah.
We are going to take this from the Canadian and American perspective, right? So when you think of the band, you think All Lips and Hips from 1988, I guess, the original version, 1990 for the single. And when you listen to Sirius XM radio, you hear it at least once a week. It comes up. And so bands think, well, that's it. They're a one-hit wonder, and they disappeared. And of course, that's not true. You had Freewheeling after that, and Them Boys Done Swang. And you did a whole bunch of stuff with Ginger from the Wildhearts and what's his name? Michael Monroe. But talk to me sort of about this perception of sort of the difference between the Swedish market and the North American market, and why it's been maybe a little more difficult to be visible over here.
Well, first of all, I understand the one-hit wonder thing, because it was one of those things that the song obviously really took off with MTV at that time, and it was played on heavy rotation, and it ended up on the Billboard charts and everything. So I know, I've noticed a lot of times people might not know about the band, but when you mention the song, they remember. And then I don't know the difference. I mean, after we split up the band in '94, I think. Then and obviously we were all living in Sweden. So, and I went back here, did a solo album and stuff like that before I started working with Ginger, as you mentioned. I heard that interview, by the way. It's cool to get mentioned. But yeah, and then I don't know. I mean, then I started playing with Hanoi Rocks, for 4.5 years, and all the Ginger stuff. But that was mainly in Japan and UK. And I don't know. I mean, the times have changed everywhere. So I don't know the main difference, like what you're really asking for, but as far as Sweden or America.
Well,
I mean,
okay,
I know
so
it was different when we started because there was everybody was singing in Swedish and it was all, you know, really poppy stuff. So we always felt like we had more in common with bands like Aerosmith and stuff like that. So we felt like we gotta get this album done and then fuck off to America, you know, as soon as we can, get a management and stuff, which is what we did. Funnily enough, it ended up being a hit in Sweden anyway, because I guess it was just good timing, you know, and a bit of luck that people was tired of that whole pop thing at the time. So, yeah.
So moving forward to 2019, you know, there are a lot of opportunities for touring, and the band has been touring all over Europe. You've done different, obviously different countries and stuff, but getting over here, getting to a festival, for example, like M3 or Heavy Montreal, what are some of the challenges a band like Electric Boys faces in terms of coming over here and touring? Because I know a lot of fans will write me and say to me, hey, Mitch, Thunder should come here. Electric Boy should come here. Ghost should come here. Pretty Maid should come here. And there is a challenge. What are some of the things that you face in terms of trying to get over here and putting together a run of shows?
I think it's the main problem is like I said, there is some sort of a fan base from before, and certainly if you do it together with some other bands, you know, like a package thing, it could be really cool. But I think the main problem is just simply money. You know, it costs quite a lot to get the working permits to come over and to set something up and make it work nowadays financially. I think that's I mean, we certainly want to go back. You know, we'd be back. We would have been back many times if we would have been given the opportunity. You know, but I also think it needs somebody over there who wants to bring us over, who can start the ball rolling and make the right connections, you know, call the right people and stuff to start it off. But that would be a dream, you know, and obviously doing the Masters of Rock cruise was a good thing, and we're hoping to do it next year. We're negotiating with them at the moment.
Good. And I'll put a word in for M3. I think you guys would be spectacular. But let me talk about the band's disappearance and coming back. Yeah, Freewheeling ends up in '94. You come back for and Them Boys, done Swang in 2011. What sort of compelled you to get back together? You walked away, and obviously there must have been something going on where you just said, okay, we can't do this anymore. And then you sit around, we all get a little bit older, and you say, you know what? What if we just strapped on the guitars one more time and brought the boys out again? Talk to me about that decision and what it's been like since, because it's now been 8 years, 3 albums. The band is sounding as great as ever. I mean, if you go to YouTube or you listen, you guys sound spectacular. What was that moment like and that decision? Was it, we'll give this a shot, and if it works, it works? Or was it like, okay, part 2?
Well, it was the way I remember it was that I was coming back on the boat from Finland with Andy, the bass player, who was also in Hanoi Rocks, and we had done a string of 8 shows at Tavastia in Helsinki, which was like the last thing the band did. It was like a farewell thing, and if I remember right, I asked him, "What do you feel like doing?" He said, you know, I said I would actually like to go back to the sort of more 70s groove type rock, you know, hard rock that we used to play, because the way I look at Hanoi Rocks is a band that is a bit more punky and more straightforward rock and roll, if you like, which I love as well, but it's not what the Electric Boys are known for. And also because obviously I wasn't the front man in that band, which was a great luxury to have someone like Michael to do that. But after that many years, and then I just felt like, fuck, man, that would be fun, you know, to do that again, because it's been so long. And I mentioned it to Andy, the bass player, and he said, yeah, I've been thinking the same thing. And we actually didn't think it would happen, because Niklas, the original drummer, lives in LA first of all, and we were over here in Sweden, and we hadn't been in contact with the guitar player Franco, but well, it turned out that they were really up for it, and we all said, let's get together and jam and see what it feels like. And obviously, like I'm sure most bands say after a long pause like that or whatever, that nothing has changed. Basically, same boring jokes, and everybody falls into their position. So yeah, that was the thing. It just felt like a fresh thing again to do that.
Yeah, and it turned out great. Honestly, for folks who haven't heard, I mean, I know we're here to talk about the new album, but if you haven't heard Starflight United from 2014, I mean, that was like my top 3 or top 5 albums of that year. It is absolutely spectacular. But let's talk about making new music. First of all, how important is it for a band like the Electric Boys to make new music? And when you decide that you're going to start recording a new album like the Ghost Ward Diaries, do you look back and say, all right, we need something like Lips and Hips, or do you say, oof, been there, done that, let's not start repeating ourselves? Do you have this freedom to be a creative band, or a new band making new music in the sense of style, or are you sort of like, well, we can't be too far from what we were because we're going to lose the fans? How do you sort of approach the songwriting?
Yeah, good question. Because when we did put the band together, that first album and then Boys Down Swang, that was I thought very, very strongly that this has to sound like Electric Boys, because there's been quite a few reunions with bands that doesn't sound like what they used to. I mean, like, so to me, I'm meaning like that the fans probably would be disappointed because it's not what they're hoping for. So I was concerned that from the beginning it had to sound like us. So, and actually a lot of the ideas on that album was ideas that we played around with 120 years ago, and but we couldn't really make great songs out of them. But now when I picked up those riffs again, it was like, oh, but this is obvious. We should have just done it like this. So that was that album. And then the next one, like you said, Starflight United, continued a bit like that, but a bit more, maybe a bit more rock and roll or just straightforward in some way, not so much focused on the funky stuff. And I would say the last album is, we just felt like, okay, now we've done 2 albums like that, and it's let's just not. I mean, like you said, it can be a hindrance. If I will walk around and sing, I gotta make a song that sounds like Lips and Hips, I wouldn't be able to make any music anymore. You gotta get rid of that kind of monkey on your back. So I think this is the first album where we actually said, fuck, let's just put, out of all the songs that we've written, let's just take the best songs that we feel are the best songs and make a great album, and let that be, and be what we are today.
Right. So
the other way around.
So definitely less concern. Well, maybe, how can I write? Trying to write a single or trying to write another all Lips and Hips, it was not on the forefront. It was really about, these are the best songs we have for 2018, and let's go with that. Let me just quickly talk, because you said you listened to the Ginger interview. So quickly, Ginger Wildheart, for folks who don't know, did an album called Silver Ginger back in 2000 called Black Leather Mojo. And again, for many folks, it's one of these undiscovered classics. That album is absolutely terrific. Talk to me about working with Ginger at the time, because he sort of says that this is one of these albums that wasn't supposed to happen, and the Japanese record company said, please make it happen, and then okay, it happens. What was it like working with him, and what do you sort of see in terms of the Wildhearts? Another band here that in North America we sort of overlook, but brilliant, right?
Absolutely fantastic. I think the last Wildheart album is incredible. I mean, that's up there with Black Leather Mojo for me, you know. And also, I mean, they were doing that punky, hard pop stuff, whatever you want to call it, way before a lot of bands like Green Day and whatever, all the, you know, there's quite a few bands that's been around like that. But I just think Ginger's is an amazing songwriter, and obviously, like I said, he did the Zero Ginger 5 album on his own, and then I know he mentioned this in the interview that he felt that, no, this sounds like a band, so we should put a band together. They got in touch with me, yada yada, and you know, and then we started touring, and it was great. It was fantastic.
Yeah,
and I mean, it was great for me because he sent me the album, and I had just done my first solo album, Psychonauts, and it didn't do that great because people kept saying, but this doesn't sound like Electric Boy. So I'm like, you know, come on, what's the point? I mean, I'm doing a solo album because I want to do something else. But and then he got in touch, and before I listened, I thought to myself, if this is just decent, I'm gonna do it because I know that Ginger is a cool guy, and I want, you know, to get out of Sweden and go on the road. And then I put the album on, and I was cassette as it was, I think, as it were, and I was just blown away. So I actually, you know, came into the band as a fan. So it was great. I love that album. It's definitely one of the best things he's done, I think. But I do like a lot of the other stuff as well.
Yeah, it really is. Talk to me a little bit about your time with Hanoi Rocks, another band that has had great success in Europe, had some mounting success in the U.S., and then, of course, I don't want to go over that negative story, but we know what happened. But what was it like getting with Michael Monroe and doing those sort of classic Hanoi rock songs? Because when you think of a pure rock band, you pretty much are describing Hanoi Rocks. They are dialed into being a loud, dangerous rock and roll band.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, they moved to Sweden in the beginning of the 80s. And they started rehearsing in one of the tube stations. And I remember seeing the guys on the streets thinking, what the hell is that? You know, who are they? They must be in a band. But I mean, Michael looked outrageous and amazing. I mean, you would notice them everywhere. And first time I saw him at a place called Studion, I think, it was the same effect that I had, that Jason and the Scorchers had at the very same venue. I mean, they totally blew the place apart. You know, it was such a fresh and cool and great band at that time when they came around. And to cut a long story short, I ended up playing with the original drummer Jeff Casino in a band, in a power trio, and we went to Finland to open up for Hanoi Rocks on a tour there, when Razzle was around and stuff, and Andy and I got along really well, and he said we gotta do something together at some point. So when he, you know, fast forward now to 2004 or whatever, and when he got in touch, I felt like, yeah, let's give it a shot. I went over there to play with them, and I figured this might last a year or whatever, but it'd be great fun because we always talked about it. But it ended up being 4.5 years, and we did that album Street Poetry together as a band. I co-wrote quite a few of the songs and stuff. It was really a band record, and actually a really good one, I think. I'm happy with it, with the way it came out. And obviously it was great fun. We did lots of tours in when we went to America, we did a lot of European tours and Japan.
Yeah, yeah, and for those folks who don't know it, go check out Street Poetry. Came out in 2007, and another, there's a lot of great music going on in Europe that for some reason North America closes its eyes to, which is completely regretful. But where do we go from here now that the Ghost Ward Diaries are out? You did sort of 3 years between the first one and then. I'm talking about sort of the reunion albums, and then 4 years between the Starflight and this one. What's sort of the going forward from here? Do you think, okay, we need to shorten that, let's get another one out in 2 years, or do you think, hey, you know what? We have songs, we have hits, we don't really need to worry about the next new one because we can go play shows with the catalog?
No, it's not. It's not at all like that. We've never been nostalgic in the first place. I mean, we play the old stuff because we should, but we were always thinking ahead. And it's fun. I'm just coming back from UK. I haven't done a tour there, and I think we did like 5 or 6 of the new songs, and we were kind of concerned before, and there was a lot of discussions about how much new material you should play in the shows, but it turned out really good, and fans kept coming up in the merch afterwards and saying that they really liked all the new stuff. So I think that feels good, of course, because obviously they're up for the new stuff as well. So it's always forever onwards, and like you said, we gotta keep up. Speed up the tempo a bit. So
pick up the pace,
in an
right?
Ideal world,
yeah.
In an ideal world, a record a year like in the old days would be great, but I don't think it's gonna happen. But
well,
maybe
the costs are a little prohibitive.
Longer than 2 years.
As a principal songwriter in the band, what to you makes a good song when you sit down and you write something? What sort of is a good song, and then a song that you sort of crumple up the paper and say, yeah, that's that. What is a good song for you?
It's just something you feel. I can't put. It's not mathematics or anything like that. To be honest, all the songs, pretty much, I think actually all the songs that have turned into singles and the songs that people are talking about nowadays and the songs that people are singing along to at the shows is the songs I felt like this is going to be a single when I wrote it. And also, songwriting, it's interesting because there's so many ways to do it. You could start with a lyric or a riff or whatever, but those same songs that I talked about comes very easily. It's a cliche now, but it's really true what Keith Richards always saying, that there's a lot of music around in the air and you just gotta keep the antenna up and hope for them to come down, so to speak. So
right,
the great ones are easy to write, but I can't sit down and try to write them. They appear when they do, and then there's a lot of stuff that you can try to write, and of course you come up with good stuff that way too, and a lot of shit stuff too. But
has your songwriting or approach to songwriting changed at all from Funko Metal Carpet Ride from '89? When you're looking at it, I guess 30 years later, are you the same writer? Are you writing from the same place, or have you taken a completely different approach, or just maybe a maturity to how you approach it?
Maturity. I think it's that thing. We were really young when we did all that stuff, and I think I pay a lot more attention to lyrics nowadays than I did in those days. And also, the climate at that time was really, it was just party, fun. I don't know. I think the lyrics are important, even if it's cliche. A song like "Hangover in Hanoi," but that we have on the new album, it's a just a funny title I came up with and I wrote a song about it, around it. But there's still a meaning behind it, and I still go back to something that has happened, and even the cliches needs to mean something, if you see what I mean. And there's a lot of that stuff you wrote when you're young that you really can't feel nowadays, obviously.
Yeah, and I particularly like "Knocked Out" by Tyson, having been a Mike Tyson fan at one point. And I will finish with this today. In '92, you covered, of course, a King Kong song by ABBA.
Yeah.
Which I actually have in my iTunes. I tracked it down. It is a tremendously great version of it. But just talk to me about covering a band that is in a sense outside of your realm. I mean, you're definitely a dirty rock and roll band, and of course, ABBA is a very slickly produced pop band. What was it like just covering that song for the ABBA tribute album that came out back in '92?
Well, the reason we picked that song to begin with is obviously not because it's the best song they wrote. It was the only one that had a riff in it, and like I mentioned before, everything. I've always felt that Sweden is a pop land, a pop country, and compared to like Finland, for instance, which is a lot more. They have the Hurricanes, I don't know if you know about them, and then Hanoi Rocks kept the tradition going, and they have a harder attitude in the music in some way, and Sweden was always that ABBA pop thing. So I think when we were approached to do something for that album, we wanted to make it harder, and that was the only song that we felt we could do. And it was funny because when the release party was, we went there, and Björn and Benny was there, and the only thing I can remember them saying was, "Oh shit, did you have to bring that song up again?" So I don't think they were too happy about it. But I'm sure that's one of those lyrically thinking, one of those songs that they felt like, "Oh shit, but why? What were we thinking?" But it was the only one with a riff.
Yeah, but it's a fun song, and I like your version. I think you did a great version.
I think it turned out. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, might be time to bring it back to the set just for shit and giggles, as we say, just for the fun of it. But anyway.
Yeah.
Conny, always a pleasure. I know that trying to get this interview set up was a little more labor intensive than it should have been. Our schedules have been, trying to get European interviews done sometimes is complicated because of all the things, but we got it done. I think it sounded great. Fans out there, do check out the Ghost Ward Diaries. It is available now. It's on all the streaming sites, but do yourself a favor. Buy the CD, because physical is where it's at. You can hold it, you can read it, you can smell it, you can hear it, and that, my folks, is what a music experience should be about. And Conny, as we say in Montreal, merci beaucoup, or as you say in Sweden, tack, right? Tack ska du ha, or is that how we say it?
Something like that.
Something like that. Well, my mom's Danish, so I got the tack from there. I don't know. I know Danes and Swedes have a little bit of inflection stuff, and my mom would say Danes are better, and you're going to tell me that Swedes are better. I'm going to say both are great countries, but there you go. Merci.
They're difficult to understand for sure.
Yeah, I know those Danes are trouble. Stop coming to Malmo. Leave us alone. I know. I'm kidding. Yeah. But merci. Thank you so much. Absolute pleasure.
Yeah. Thanks to you, Mitch. Always a pleasure.
Merci. Have a good night. I know it's late there. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks very much.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon. Rock Talk.